Hey everyone, I'm BJ. I'm a genealogist and a librarian here in Maine. And tonight I'm going to continue the series I've been doing on keeping track of what you found as you research. Because everyone starts out saying, I'll remember this. I'll remember that. Trust me, you won't. When I started doing this, I had a really good memory. It's not quite so good anymore. Age is beginning to be Um, but yeah, I look at it and I'm going back over things or using new resources online. I'm like, well, where did I get that from? When I'm looking at people I researched 20 years ago. Um, so there are two different ways broadly to deal with using your computer for keeping track of stuff. There are people who use Excel. There are people, I know someone who uses a database that they've built. I'm not one for reinventing the wheel if I don't have to. So I'm not going to invent a database that when programs have been developed. So basically, the two choices there are on your computer or online. And my answer tends to be both because when it's on your computer, you control your data, but you're not sharing it with potential cousins. The cousin bait isn't there. And so I'm a firm believer that, quite frankly, you probably want to do both. Um, I know I like having both because when I'm up to camp and don't have anything other than a very cranky cell signal, um, I like not having to rely on internet access. But at the same time, yes, Ancestry lets you do private trees with that aren't searchable. But sometimes when I'm playing around with stuff, I want to keep it private. Um, the computer programs that you put on your own computer in general, the things they're going to have that will make life easier, they have better ways to source material. The citations tend to be better, and they're going to have more forms of reports and you'll have more control over what the output is on the report. And so if you're like me and you like printing out the paper to look at, especially if I'm going to research somewhere, and I want the paper in front of me, focusing on what I'm there for, um, you're going to get much better charts out of the things, reports, out of what of the programs on your computer. So tonight I'm going to talk about programs on your computer, and next week I'm going to talk about the various ways you can keep track of things online. Um, so that's what we're going to do. Um, I'm going to talk about legacy for a bit because that's the one I use the most often. There are things out there. I think Brothers Keeper is still going. It was the first one I used back in like 1998. And the Master Genealogist is no longer being supported. I have it. I still think it's the best there has been. Um, but because it's not supported that well anymore, I don't like having it be. I love some of the reports and I miss them, but I worry that if I have data only there and something crashes and I can't get it back. Um, Legacy has the advantage that they got bought out by MyHeritage, and they recently decided that it is more cost effective for them to just make it free for everybody instead of paying to have developers do a free version and a more robust paid version. So it's free, which you guys have been around me long enough that you know that I like free. Um, but it's still one of the nicer programs out there. So let me start sharing my screen so I can talk to you about this. That's what we want. And are you seeing my screen? Good. Even though it says for me that that you guys can see it, I'd rather check just to be on the safe side. And let me do these couple things that, okay. So when you have a project in Legacy, this is sort of the basic screen. What's it doing? That's not what I wanted it to do. Come on, computer. You can handle this. Now, I have color coded these, and everyone I am descended from more than 2 ways or more, I have color coded it so it's this orange. So that's a way for me to see that when I get back there, I'm going to be looking for 2 of their kids. This is the pedigree. Those of you who've been around probably recognize my Wilkins family. And so what we can do here is I can click on family and it shows me the person who was the focus of the pedigree. Oh, let's go back. Well, let's do it this way. So let's go back to Betsy. Oh, come on. And this is one thing that's actually nice about it is you can do that moving around that way. There are other ways you can click on name listing. I'll show you that in a bit. But so right now the focus is Betsy. And I can click here and eventually, there we go. So here's Betsy, her details. Here's John T. Sears. He's one of my mystery people. More details on her. Here, if you have, she only had one spouse. I'm really focused. This is a subset of my database. And I like having it because I can use it in programs because there's nobody here born after 1850 in the database. Or we could go to back to the pedigree. But let's go back to family, and I'm going to show you under reports. I can print out a pedigree chart, family group sheet, and then you've got all of these other types of reports that you can do. So for example, under chart reports, we can do an ancestor chart that has, and we're going to do it for 7 generations. Let's see. And we can preview it. Who knows what that meant? Okay, and so we can, oops, I don't want thumbnail. I want percentage. And as you can see here, it's done. This is like a family tree. This is very similar to some of what you see on Ancestry, like when you're looking at DNA results. And you can see this is a lot of this I haven't dealt with that much. It's early Essex County settlers, and there's been so much done on this family that I'd really, It's one of the things I've been going back over as I'm working on my Wilkinses. But we can also do an individual chart for that family group sheet. And so let's preview this one. Now, I don't have any of their kids in here, so actually we'll close this and we'll go up to Betsy's parents. Come on, computer. There we go. And we can do a family group sheet on them. And here you have the information on the father, on the mother, and then the daughter. And these are really nice. I use family group sheets a lot. I think I showed you last week how I went out and write on it as I'm researching. And so, but the nice thing about this is if I change one thing here, let's say I miraculously find John T. Sears's birth date, I can just reprint it. I don't have to recopy the whole thing, or have it be messy. And so that's nice. There are fancier charts that you can do for wall charts. I haven't done those much. You can do, let's go back a couple more generations. And we'll go into the descendant report, and it gives you various styles, and you have a lot of choices here. You can create a table of contents. You can do it either in the NEHGS register style or the NGSQ modified register. And you can choose various things. You can change the page layout. You can change the heading. Various other things that you can do. And there are more ways you can customize it. And the thing I really like is you can also what is going on? Sounds like I've got a screen here that I don't know where it went. Oh, well, why is this not letting me do? This is not good, people. What is going on here? Oh, there it is. There was a little window that popped up behind something else. You can choose to have it go out as a rich text file, which means you can open it in Word or open it as so let's create that. And as I said, we can give it that name and hit yes to open it elsewhere. Open it in Word. And I could go in and edit this in whatever way I wanted. Which is a really handy feature. And again, if I only made a change on this page here, let's say I decided that this really should have been 1737. Um, I could just reprint the one page. So, sometimes you get sort of awkward wording in these, or you want to add other things that didn't come out. Um, so it's nice to be able to do that as a way of, and you'll see that I don't have consistency here on fonts. I could choose to say I want them all in one font, and I want to go down one size on every one of them. And I like having that control, that you don't get these options in the reports from like Ancestry. Um, they're better than they used to be, but you don't get this level of flexibility. Um, so that's something to keep in mind. Um, you get some tools that are nice. Um, I haven't necessarily used all of them. Um, you get some stuff where you can do tags for keeping track of people. Um, you can do, so let's say I'm on Ithamar and I want to do a relationship. Let's do here, and we're going to select from the name list. And so we're going to put in Ithamar, and we'll select him. Where is it? Oh, come on, computer. Because of course it worked for me yesterday when I was practicing, right? Isn't that how this always works?
Mhm.
Well, anyway, I could put Ithamar on this slide. Yeah. And oh, here it is. And then we'll put me in. I'm not in here, that's why. Um, and we could choose somebody else. Come on. We'll choose John T. Sears. And it tells us that Ithamar is the husband of great granddaughter to Ithamar, which, it's a nice little trick. Um, so I like that. Um, you get some stuff with making sure you've got the right places. Um, you can ask for potential problems. You can look for duplicates. Um, so let's go down to this Ithamar here. And if you remember, I have now decided that Elizabeth is probably not married to Ithamar, but to a brother Asaph. So what I can do here is go into Ithamar. Actually, what I'm going to do is this blue line means this is the active person. And I'm going to add a husband to her. Um, and I think he was born about 1738. Um, and they were married in 1757 at Danvers. And you see, we don't have to write the whole thing out. We're going to hit save here. And then what we're going to go do is I'm going to click on her spouses and go to Ithamar and unlink that. Come on. Where did it go? There's another screen here. Okay. So you see there's this unlink. Hit yes. And then I'm actually going to hit delete and hit yes. I'm going to close. Now I'm going to go back to Elizabeth. Oops. I'm going to go to Asaph and I'm going to add his father, who's an existing person. So I don't have to retype this. And hit select. There we go. And add his mother, who is an existing person. Again, select her. And I know their marriage record says 1736. And now if I go up to Ithamar, it shows the two kids that I'm pretty sure he had. And so that's, it's nice, especially for those of us who get into things with endogamy, where you're seeing the same people multiple times. It's nice not to have to repeat them every time. So for example, I have one um couple greats grandmother where half the people in this right hand column are Putnams. And there are a couple cases of first and second marriages, first and second cousins marrying. And you see here what happens. So I'm descended from um, Henry Way, and I'm not sure this is the right name. Two different. So actually, it's the. This is. I'm reconsidering this now, based on my research, but the idea is that Ray Wilkins and Rebecca Knight may have been, I guess, cousins, second cousins, and married each other. And so, and again, I'm descended, if we go to Philip Knight and family, I'm descended from two of his kids, both Rebecca and Joseph. And so if I go to one of these and go back to the pedigree, not much variation there. um, so that's just something to keep in mind. Um, we can edit things. And again, the view, you can do these. One of the neat tools, and I expect most of you don't have this tool, this issue, but it's in here somewhere. There's a way to set an alarm, and you get a little pop-up box saying you can, so I say, it's 11:30 p.m., go to bed. I've been known to suddenly have it be 3 a.m. and I have to go to work the next day, and oops. One of the things I like about these over most of the online ones, you can add an unlinked individual easily. That is not easy to do, for example, in a tree at Ancestry. So for things like my Leroyd one name study, where I may find a Leroyd and I don't know where they fit in, it's nice to be able to put this in. The other time, for example, that um I have I really like that. Oh, come on, computer. So I have people, and they're not in this database, but they will be eventually, because I've decided to put my information on John T in here as well. He shows up with a ship captain a couple times. They're not related, but I can link him. I can put that ship captain in without any link to anyone else. Or my project where I'm looking at the early settlers of what's now the town of Norway, Maine. Some of them end up related, like their grandchildren marry, but they're not related directly. And Ancestry makes it kind of hard to put them in. You have to connect them to a family and then disconnect. But here we can just add an unlinked person. Um, there are also, you can do research notes here. Um, and things like that. So notes. The stories gives you bigger, so it's just free text. I could type in a story I know about her. Or I know that after John T died, she went to live with her brother Joel and never remarried. I could easily put that here in the story as a way to get information that doesn't fit in other easy contexts. Um, and as I said, you can write notes, you can have a to-do list. Um, so for example, I could go in and add, you know, check New Hampshire for record if I thought that maybe she had something outside of the state, outside of Massachusetts. But as I said, the big thing over when you have the computer program on your computer, um, you'll need to back it up so you don't lose anything, but your data is more secure and you have more flexibility with some of the options like reports or adding someone that you don't know how they fit in, but they're with your family, the family you're researching in both the 1870 and the 1880 census. And so you figure there's a relationship there, even if you don't know how they fit together. Um, and so I like that. So you have other things you can do. As I said, you can go in and brain cramp here. Look for duplicates, things like that. So I'm going to go out of legacy and I'm going to go into roots magic just to show you what a slightly different program looks like.
BJ, can I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
I've been working a lot recently with a program that not many people know about called Family Historian. And I would be glad to give you the 5-minute cook's tour if you're interested.
For
Give this
this, and
group a
then we'll
quick tour.
we'll
When
get
you're done with
back.
Roots Magic, if the last
Yeah,
5 minutes, if you could give me some time, I think it
sure. I would be glad to do that. So
might
I
prove
want to,
interesting.
yeah. Um, as I said, I know you and I have talked in the past about liking the master genealogist, and I'm really, in a way, I understand why the man who invented it didn't want to sell it to somebody, but on the other hand, I miss it. So
It
I'll
was
show you.
it
Yeah,
was easily the best program out there, and now we're all struggling to find a suitable replacement.
right. Mm, And that's the problem I've got is I remember how I could do. Although it's also true that the Brothers Keeper of 15 years ago did a couple reports that even they don't do anymore. And we still have them printed out. And it's like, I really wish somebody would still, it's doing a list of people with certain variables and I miss it. And even, um, no, it was Personal Ancestral File that did it. And again, that's another one that's not being kept up. So let me just show you, I'm going to show you how easy it is. I'm going to import a file. And it used to be you had to do it as a GEDCOM, but these days, most of the big programs will let you import from a direct database. So I click here and it looks for all of my files that are legacy databases. So I can click here on this Wilkins one. I'm going to name this Wilkins 2 where it's going to get, because I did actually practice this. And it'll take a minute, but this is, and here we have that database I was just working on in the other one imported here. And again, you get different options for how to do things. I do not use this much. I only bought it recently um, because I wanted to be able to, there was one of the reports here that I saw from somebody else that I really liked. I'm not sure it was worth the $50 this cost, but I like having a second um, choice. And you see here, you can see things where there's a problem. Where did this go? Um, no surname. That one I could see, but you can also set it to, you know, child born after mother's death. Um, child father to child at 97. Well, maybe he did, but let's double check that. Um, so these are very similar, and it really comes down to which one does what you want it to do and which one are you familiar with. Um, and as you see here, you can go in and change settings. Um, you, if you put the kids in and they're not in age order, it can go in and do that for you. You can set what problems you're looking for. Um, I happened to find the where is it? I happened to find the interface for Legacy nicer than this one. But I know that both, so no, Family Historian and Gramps tend to do better with, if you're doing a lot of research in the UK with place names, is my understanding. Um, so that's the sort of, and again, we can go back to the pedigree. And click on Ray Wilkins, gives you the kids. You can put in notes, you can put in a source. Um, and these are the sources I've got for this. Um, so let's just do this and hit next. Um, and then we could just put that in here and you can put the page number, you could put, like the Scottish references where you have, births and then 685/4 is a parish in Edinburgh. And then, you could put, 1783 and then the rest of the citation. Not that that goes with Salem, Massachusetts vital records. But that, and it shows you how this will print out. And yet you can see I'm just, for some of these, I've just put this much. And I should have more than I do in my on some of these, but this is, I'm not working with this part of the database yet. Because putting the sources in takes time. I'm like all of you, that time is a precious commodity these days. Um, so that's, I just wanted to show you, A, that it is easy to do that import, and B, that a lot of it comes down to which interface you like better. And a lot of these, if they are not free, they often have a limited version you can try for free. So that's sort of what these can do. You can see some remnants here of things I did early on where I wasn't sure about something. I put a question mark before it. That's not how I do it anymore because it messes things up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to close this out. And then, David, if I will make you a co-host so you can share your screen. Where does it let me? Oh, come on. It needs to let me. So we do have a comment that you someone is still using the master genealogist. I need to look into that because I miss it. Why is it not letting me make David a co-host?
A master genealogist works just fine.
Yeah.
And there's a fairly active support group that keeps it going. But it's never going to get better or different or add new things. And there are some things it doesn't do that well.
Mhm. Well,
Graphic
it's,
charting and stuff isn't very good.
yeah.
But it's a. I'm convinced it was the best program we ever had a choice of, and now it's no longer because it's not supported and not evolving. Um, it can do a pretty good job, and I think given that most of us are
Looks like
old,
I
it'll
have to make
probably
you.
it'll be good enough.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Thank you. You the host, and then you'll have to send it back to me.
Sorry.
So you should be able to share your screen at this point.
Share. Let's see if I can find the one I want to share. That one. Share. You've
I need
got
to
it?
stop. I've got to stop sharing mine. That's what's going on. There you go. Yeah.
So you can see my
Mm-hmm.
screen? And do you
Yep.
see my big ugly purple cursor? Does it show up? Anyways,
Yeah, but it's not big, it's small.
uh, on my screen it's large. Anyways, it's a live data set that I work on. It's 15,000 people, something like that. Um, so this is the basic screen. You've got uh, the people, parents, husband, wife, children, basic layout, nothing too special. You've got a sort of summary with some date in it, born, baptized, died, buried. And then you got a source column. So I'll select the facts thing. So if you pick any particular item, there'll be a source there of varying qualities that I've put in. You can enter, want to add a person, no big deal. Add a child of those two, create a new record for the child. So you fill in the blanks. You're all done, no big deal. Notice it's appearing live on the screen the third child has appeared. So it's pretty active that way. I'll go back and get rid of that guy later. I'm not too worried about that. Reports, which BJ spent a lot of time on. Here you have a handful of pre-programmed ones, and then you've got charts, various things you can do. So let's do these guys. Let's do ancestors. So I push ancestors, and we'll pick John William Hopper's on the screen and push go. There's your drawing.
Nice.
Couple things about this to notice. You see the Canadian flag with a number in it that's down the side of some of the boxes.
Mhm.
Those are the census years for which I've found that person. So in the 1961, 71, 81, 91 Canadian censuses, I found those people. So it's a very quick visual way when you're looking at stuff. You can do
Nice.
everything from this screen. You don't have to ever leave this screen. So let's pick a Elizabeth Fenby, and let's add a parent. Create a new record for this parent, and we'll do her father, and we'll call him John Smith. I don't use the backslashes, so I'll wipe them out. John Smith Fenby. Okay, so we've added him. All right, he's been added. I could add a source if I needed to, whatever. If I go back to this drawing, see this plus sign?
Mhm.
There he is.
Nice.
And you could continue to do that. You can add and subtract and move people. If I don't think you want them there, I can put them up over here somewhere. Oh, can't let's. So you just, add people from here if you like. Format the box to various sizes and shapes, anything you like. So then if we go back to our main, I'll leave that with the drawing up just for the heck of it. Let's go back to my John William Hopper that I started with. This is the easiest way I can get there. So if you want to do, say, both, let's do 3 and 3 just so the drawing isn't too stupid. So now you've got a drawing where there's John William Hopper, and there's his ancestors off to the right, and there's his descendants to the right and his ancestors to the left. So they're all on this drawing.
Nice.
3 generations, 2 ways. And you can make it do anything you like with this drawing.
I may have to look into this.
You could also do other assorted charts. The all relatives chart. This is again another all relatives plus indirect relatives. I don't know what we'll get this time, but yeah, there you go. It's a different format. You've got all kinds of stuff. This is a huge drawing. If I zoom it down, some of these various assorted green and blue and red and stuff lines going around are other connections that you need to try and figure out. So it's just a tremendous, as you would expect, an all relatives diagram would be hugely idiotic. Lots of stuff on it. You can do, this is BJ spent time on drawings, we'll do drawings. Your comment about locations and being English interesting. So you look here at my, let's pick a fact. Born. Not what I wanted to do, but anyways. The location, if you remember the master genealogist, there were 6 boxes into which you could put location. The last 4 are basically town, county, province or state, country. Those are the last 4. And there's a couple more before that that have more details. In Family Historian, you have 6 spots separated by commas. So it's got Victoria Square, York County, Ontario, etc. So the first 2 commas basically say the first 2 boxes of the location I'm not going to fill in. They're just going to be blank. And then the next 4 will be the town, the county, the province and the country. So it's very similar. If you go in his died line, see, I've added one more detail, the home of Mr. So-and-so Hopper, Claremont, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a very, it gives you more details that way as you like.
It looks like it's actually
Sorry?
more flexible than Legacy, which is one of my complaints.
Super flexible. This thing on the left, right on the left margin, this what I call the stack of quarters, these are records. So if I want to find people or notes or sources or repositories or media, all my media files, um, my place list, which I occasionally go through and clean up. I'm a believer that you should list the place as it was at the time of the event. So you'll see I'll have Markham, York County, Ontario. Somewhere else, no doubt, I'll have, well, Canada West, British North America, Markham Home District, Canada West, British North America, Markham, York County, Ontario. Those are the same place, just different times. Research notes that I've accumulated over the years. I think I'm largely ignoring those so far. And source templates. So what source templates do you want to use? Many of the software programs out there have a database. They're a database with a database structure behind them. Family Historian's database structure is GEDCOM. All it is your data file is a giant GEDCOM file that it knows how to read and manipulate and work with.
Nice. Yeah,
Very,
I'm going to
very
look into
simple.
that.
Um, it is British. There's a family historian Zoom group that meets twice a week, usually at times that are convenient in the British Isles and not so here in North America. But someday, the 7:30 p.m. meetings are 2:30 in the afternoon. That's not so bad. The 9:30 in the morning ones that are 4:30 here is like that's bad. So, and the other thing that works that you should all look at and try and understand is a product called Aura, online ORA, Online Repository Assistant, and it's a product that runs with your browser, and you can trigger Aura to go and it's if you know anything about computer, it's called a screen scraping program. It goes in and finds stuff on this. So you're at an ancestry record, and you can have Aura programmed so that you press go, and it takes that entire record and moves it into Family Historian or Legacy or any of the other programs. Just click of a button. Now you got to program it, or find somebody who has programmed it so that it works the way you want it to. But Aura is clearly it's remarkable how quickly. Session today was a guy who's pulling references, the GRO references out of the US, out of the UK, because he's doing a one name study. And he's pulling fully referenced entries at a rate of about 500 an hour using Aura to do the work for him. So it's you'll need to put your computer programmer hat on, which is not as so easy anymore as it used to be. I used to be able to do that stuff, but not now. But it's a very cool, interesting program that works really well with Family Historian, but it works with Legacy, Roots Magic, any of the others.
Okay, so if you want to send the host back to me now,
Yeah, how do I do that? Just stop
in the
sharing? I'm out.
stop sharing, and then you probably, let's see, you have to click on the three dots on my picture, and it should have make host as a possibility.
There you go. It's been done.
Okay.
Make
So,
host is no longer a choice.
so any questions at this point? As I said, this is an overview, but I wanted you to see the sorts of things the on your computer can do. All of them have a bit of a learning curve at the beginning. But there are advantage, it's worth the time investment, in
If
my
you want to see
opinion.
things that happen on Family Historian, there are a large number of YouTube videos, maybe 80
Yeah,
of them on Family Historian. So go on YouTube, look for Family Historian videos, and you can pick a
I
topic
raised my
and,
hand. Whoops.
sorry, and half the time it'll confuse the heck out of you, but the other half of the time it's wonderful how well it works. Yes.
legacy family tree
I'll be
is the,
quiet now.
yeah. And Cheryl, did you have a question?
Yes, you said Legacy is free. Where do I go to start up or put my information into?
Let me get where you go to get it. And I'll put it
Okay.
in the,
It's in the chat already, I think.
yeah. I think it's the legacy family tree, but I'll just,
LegacyFamilyTree.com. Download now. It's free. Yeah, there it is.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, and as you said, evidently they decided it wasn't worth the time and money to do the two versions that the others do. Um, so that's, that's one advantage that it has over the others. If you want, let me pull this up and I'll put it in the,
about the same age. She's 2 years, her birthday's 2 years after, or 2 months.
June, did you have a question? I hit mute, so if you had a question, feel free to unmute.
What is the A on ORA?
It was online research assistant.
Assistant?
I think that's what,
Or
and
repository.
yeah. One of the other places, if you're looking for stuff, Cindy's list has a software category where you can go through, and I admit I don't use Mac, so I don't know what's up with that, but she has both a Linux software and a Macintosh software category if you want to go in and see what there is to take a look at. Because a lot of this is what works with how your brain works and what you're interested in. So any other questions?
I put up the
Okay.
URLs for Aura and Family Historian in the
Thank
chat.
you. Thank you very much.